Hello, welcome. Welcome to another episode of our wonderful leadership conversations that take place on Saturdays. I'm in London and my name is Monwara Ali. I'm a leadership coach consultant, a CEO of a charity, and a director of a CIC. I do a lot of international development work as well. For anyone who's joining us right now, if you want to find out more about me, you can check me out on my LinkedIn profile and my YouTube channel under my name, or just Google my name. And I'm going to hand over to my wonderful friend, Lorlett. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. So pleased to be here from sunny Jamaica again. Really and truly looking at what's possible. I've got this retreat that I'm developing, and that's what I'm working on. And it's really I'm about people with bold ideas. I love the idea. I'm a leadership champion, a leadership coach, anything to do with leadership. I'm totally passionate about it. And what I'm really, really passionate about that drives me every day is people that comes with bold ideas and want them to become a reality. I think bold ideas are the ones that change the world. People come up with ideas every day that makes a difference, and that takes something. I was talking to Monwara earlier on about, when you want to scale, when you want to go to the next level, when you want to make a difference, it's one of the hardest things because, you hear voices around you, voices in your head that tells you, who are you to be doing this? Who are you want to be doing this? And, if you listen to the naysayers, that will definitely stop you from taking yourself on. So these conversations, it's not just about your audience, it's about me. It's about me learning about myself and, being able to share my ideas as well, which is phenomenal. So, Manwara, we're going to talk about your experience with your bowl idea. I think it's important to recognize, you taking yourself on climb this mountain. What was it like? What was it that drives you? You created a team, you made it happen, phenomenally started off with an idea and you took yourself on. So I'm going to ask you a few questions around, you know, when did you have this great idea around fundraising to put yourself through such a challenge to climb a mountain? That's not an easy feat. This is not something that everyday people think about. Not only did you have the idea, you make it happen. Not only that, you enroll other leaders to climb the mountain with you. People give up their time, their finance, their effort, everything about themselves, even the courage, you know, um, looking good, and all of that. All those fundamental key aspects of a human, what it takes to be a human, to climb a mountain with you. Now, that's not an easy feat, is it, Madwara?
No,
What was it?
no, it absolutely isn't. I am not a mountaineer. I'm just a seeker of challenging myself and learning and growing all the time. And I believe that not everybody who signed up to climb the mountain had their different reasons. I do think the climbing of a mountain, it's in itself is a personal development opportunity. Is absolutely it can be absolutely transformational. I wish some of the people, the leaders that were on that journey with me, were here to talk about. Maybe we invite them to next Saturday or the Saturday after. But where the bold idea comes from, I think I would say, Lole, I very strongly trust my intuition to the point where if I have an idea and it's really bold and I really, really believe in it and I am thinking about it at night, I'm thinking about it in the morning when I wake up. I believe that I'm meant to do that thing, even if 100 people tell me 100 reasons why I shouldn't do it. Because I think there's what I'm saying. There's a power in listening to your intuition and believing in yourself, because people will only judge you on what they see. There are so many layers to us that people don't see. And also, we are growing and changing all the time. Every experience we have in our lives shapes us in a different way. It increases our confidence to believe in ourselves. And I think that's what I find that a challenge like a mountain climb can do. The mountain could be higher or lower, but on that mountain, everybody is fighting their own journey. And it's not, yes, I went there with the team, and I am the type of leader who would be absolutely gutted if the rest of my, I could not possibly do go on a journey with a team and leave anyone behind. That's just not the way I like to lead others or to work as a team. For me, I'm either right at the back. I don't know if it's part of the conditioning from early childhood, society's conditioning, where they say women are best leading from the back. I don't know what it is, but I'm either right at the back, or um, I'm with everyone. I'm never going to be the person who's going to be at the front, because you can't see everything from the front. You can only see from the back, and that's been my learning from leadership around vision, because vision requires the bigger picture view of knowing who's where, and how can you make sure everybody's safe. And I think that is a responsibility of a leader, and it should be the primary responsibility, other people's safety. It is a huge responsibility to take a group of people to climb a mountain where you know there's going to be huge elements of risk. Um, I've done it before. I think in the early days, the first time I've ever done a where I did a challenge and I took a team, it was very different, because I had done things like that, but I had not taken others on that journey. And I always learn something new, even on this journey. Just to give everybody credit, I had to lean on team members, and that meant asking for help, you know and the other realization that many of the women leaders in that team preferred to lead from the back, bar one or two who actually prefer to lead from the front. But they have their own personal journeys and learning, and that was the whole point. So the two things that drive me towards these things and motivate me, it's bold, but it's one, I know the impact it will have on each one of us. And secondly, that fundraiser is going to have multiple impact, and the legacy will remain long beyond our time. So I see the very far away vision, which is, I had a calling. My intuition told me I need to raise these funds to build an institute where one day hundreds of women will be enabled to become financially independent. We raised £1,174 so far, and our target is to raise £10,000. And it wasn't going to finish as soon as the mountain climb is over, because
Mm.
people are going to be it will be open for 6 months. People will donate. We will also hold other events. So what motivates me is that long-term vision. Whether it's in 2 years time or 3 years time, there will be an institute, and there will be hundreds of women living in rural areas of Bangladesh who have very little support, are extremely vulnerable, and they will be taught how to become financially independent, like I did when I was only 18. My first job, I was 14 years old, and I did a terrible job. I cheated. I did a newspaper round, Lorlett, and
Mm,
I struggled. I was only 14, and then in the end, I just gave up because I couldn't do it. I had headaches. It was too early in the morning, and at times I threw some of the paper away because I just couldn't cope. But I've
at
come a
least, at least you're honest about it. Looking back on it now, and funny enough, I have had clients who've had paper rounds. And it's interesting you say that. They say the same thing. We got fed up with doing it, and so we throw some of them away. So I think it's I think it's a human thing in terms of, okay, I find this quite challenging, and you find a way to not complete it 100%. And yeah, it just goes to show who we are as human beings.
I'm human, and I think any 14-year-old would do the same. But how many 14-year-olds would have thought about, okay, most girls my age in my area, in an Asian family, Muslim background, would do newspaper rounds? So I think you've got to balance the two. The world can judge me for what I did when I was 14, that was wrong. But then we have lots of adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s doing that now in business, right? I've come a long way from that journey and that lesson, but what it has taught me is when you don't have money, you seek ways to make the money, and it's not because you want more to become comfortable. It's because we need it for our survival. And sometimes the assumption can be made that when somebody looks all together and looks like they're going to great places and top places, like I do sometimes, that I must be a multimillionaire. Yes, I consider myself extremely wealthy in the sense that my wealth is the relationships I hold. My wealth is the content I feel inside for what I have done for myself and others. Maybe I haven't done enough for myself, but then that's just the default type in me. But isn't it interesting? Would you say, what would you say about the whole idea that society puts out there in terms of what leaders are expected to be like?
I think one of the things I'm learning and I'm going through that process is we take it for granted that the people who show up like they have it all, are they resourceful, they are the one who get neglected in the sense that sometimes the people around think Monwara doesn't need anything. She doesn't need any support because she has it all. She's climbing mountains and she's doing this. So why would I give her a cup of tea? She can make her own cup of tea. But all you need sometimes is just somebody to say, would you like a drink? You know, would you like a cake? Would you like some support with something? But unfortunately, with the way society is structured, it's not focused on the ones who are doing, it's focused on the ones who are not doing. And the ones who are doing sometimes get left behind, So that's my response to what you just asked in terms of leadership. The people who you see out there are flying and hold it together. Some of us, like myself, I can see the big picture. I can see the whole picture in terms of what's missing. I can see the jigsaw puzzle. I can say, well, that's missing, missing. I'd go into a room and straight away I could see, okay, there's no water being put there. There is no notepads being put there. We need more pens. That kind of thing about having an event. I can automatically see what's missing in that sense. And, sometimes people think, oh, she doesn't need any help. She knows it all. She sees it all. But I think it's experience over the years. And also sometimes when, as an individual, especially myself, I don't drink tea and coffee, I automatically think, well, there got to be some juice there. Sometimes when something is missing you as an individual, it enables you to look at where you're not being catered for, or where people don't consider your needs. Because some people don't think, well, tea and coffee and water. but not stop to think about, oh, not everybody drink tea, not everybody drink coffee. Somebody else want juice, and it might be a simple thing, but it's a big thing when that's missing for somebody who doesn't fit into those categories. So I think it's about really looking at our skills, understanding who we are, our strengths, and focus on that. And as you said, Monwara, is pass those wisdom to other people to enable them to recognize as well what's missing. Because some people could walk in a room and as far as they're concerned, they have no indication of what's happening or what it took in order to put that on because they're not in that space. And there's nothing wrong with them. They just don't think about it. Some people just don't think about anything else apart from what is the obvious. They don't look beyond what is the obvious. You know, as leaders, it is a tough one. And as you rightly said, all your team members, you look at their strengths, you look at their weaknesses, you look at who will show up at different times, at different spaces, different situations. I might operate differently in a situation that you find yourself in, might be able to support you, might not. That it's about really understanding about where that person is at that moment in time. Some people, whatever situation you put them in, they will show up, no matter what, whatever time it is. And some people can only give so much, and they can only do so much. They only got the capacity to do so much. And so we also have to appreciate them as well. I don't know if that answer your question.
No, yes, in many ways it answers, and there is no perfect answer. We're finding we all are wading through life in every situation, every place we find ourselves amongst every group. It's a new situation, and we have to figure things out. I think when you become quite experienced, and I'm talking about self leadership, because many of the people who will rise to a challenge, which challenges themselves on a personal level, like a mountain climb, will always be people that can lead themselves.
Mm.
So everybody from Rifa to Kate to Shahina to Veronica to Stella, Catherine, they have untold potential. I think all of them can climb Everest Base Camp, except me, because the thing I discovered about myself over the last few years is low blood pressure. So altitude hits me at certain point. The way I'm built, I'm maybe not as fit as everybody else. Um, and also, I am too busy thinking about everyone but myself. That's my natural trait. And when I remind myself, I won't say that I am perfectly always self aware because that's just not humanly possible. You can go to as many training sessions, read as many books as you like on self awareness. But when you are just being, you don't remember. And sometimes you have to catch yourself. And on that mountain, I had to ask Veronica to help me because I knew she could because I think I was being very spiritual when I was asking her to help me. I don't think it hit her in the same way. When I said you can help me, I meant because you're someone who is very much focused on your personal fitness and getting to the top because I saw you get to the top of Ben Nevis. So I know you can help me. But I can't help myself because I can't help the fact that I'll be thinking about, okay, is Kate okay at the top on her own? Is Shahina gonna struggle even more? Because like me, she's afraid of edges. And I could see and feel the energies around me, and I could feel the anxiety. And I can feel also how my anxiety might be emanating and affecting others. And I knew even when I asked her, it was hard to ask her because I knew that I would be slowing her down. because naturally, when I'm thinking of the bigger picture and I'm thinking of everyone, I also know that for her to continue at her own pace would mean way ahead of me, and that would leave me behind. So I give her a lot of credit that she had to, in many ways, look out for me. And that's what I mean when I say you can lean on others, but sometimes our own personality types, our own levels of empathy can get in our way. Because I could have not asked Veronica because I knew I would slow her down, but I felt like I had. And then I had Catherine behind me, bless her soul. And when we talk about the really diverse group and mix, Catherine is a scouts person through and through. She was walking up that mountain like she's just going up and down the stairs in her house, right? So for me, I knew I could really heavily rely on Catherine. And I think Catherine saw it as a mission to get me to the top because I was the last one. Now, you tell me visibly when you saw me come forward with a bold idea, you knew that I am the person leading, because had I not been brave enough to face something which is a big monster for me on a personal level, it may not have happened. But is that assumption in society for you and for others that Monwara is going to lead everything from the front?
I think whether you're at the back or whether you're at the front or in the middle, I think it'll always be seen as your idea and you're the one who's leading it.
Mm,
But the difference is you're actually able to enroll other people, in understanding that. And it's not never about you, Manwara, it's about the people around you. But the reality of it is it's always going to be your idea. And the
mm,
good thing is to really get is that your skill is being able to enroll other people to support you. You might not be in the front, you might not be at the back, you might not be in the middle, but it's the added value, like people holding spaces for you. Like me in Jamaica, holding my breath, hoping that everything goes all right. I might not have been there with you in person, but all those spaces as well, where other people are holding spaces for you, is just as important, and understand that. I heard Fawn Weaver, who is somebody I admire. I mean, she's a phenomenal woman. And she said, when she walks into any room, it's those millions of people who've gone on before her, her ancestors. They're in that room with her, right? She's not in that room by herself. So she's never gone into a room afraid. And I think it's important for leaders to understand who is holding spaces for you. Who is having those conversations about you when you're not in the room? Who's gone on before that you're pulling strengths from? And I think that's where heritage and culture is important for me. I live it, I breathe it, to understand that so many people have gone on before me who've done great things and have never been recognized for what the things that they've done. And, they're no longer here. Just like with you, Monwara, it's really understanding who's holding spaces for you. You're gone off the camera. Are you okay?
I've got off the camera. I'm feeling a bit emotional.
Okay, I got it. I got it. It takes something. It really takes something to recognize that there's people there who believe in you, in your idea, in your bold ideas, Monora, and it takes something to say, I'm taking a stand for this. I am really going to make this happen. It's not an easy feat. And I'd like to really talk about something that happened to me recently in the sense of, I got written up in the Black Enterprise magazine, and It is so heartwarming to know that there's so many leaders out there doing so many things. And I was one of the person, Dr. True Powell and Justin Williams, were able to write a piece about me in this magazine. And, I'm in Jamaica and my friend came out and she basically brought a copy of it to me. And it was heartwarming to know that, as I said earlier on Monwara, it's about you don't know who's watching. You have no
Mm.
idea in terms of who's watching what you're doing. And when I read the article, I was like, my goodness, how did they know so much about me? So they obviously been observing and, you know, allowing me to read about myself. And it can be a little bit um, heartwarming to actually recognize that people are watching you and seeing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, it's I can understand where you're coming from because getting emotional to recognize that you have that idea, you made it become a reality. People are enrolling you. They take action because of you. They commit, they invest, they're there with you. And you think to yourself, that's leadership. It's about influencing. It's recognizing that nothing happens until you influence somebody to take an action. That is so powerful. What is it about me that causes, you know, multimillionaire and a magazine and to be able to be in that magazine with so many great people is very humbling because you think, who am I? And it's always asking that question, who am I? And never stop asking that question because we grow, we evolve. Who we were last week is not who we are this week. Who we were yesterday is not who we are today. So you always have to, well, for me, I always ask the question, who am I? Am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? Am I really making the impact that I thought I'm making? And then when somebody take the time out to write an article about myself, and then I read it, and I thought, well, it's not me saying it, so I must be doing something in
You
that
are
sense.
absolutely doing something. Show us that magazine again. Sorry, I had a moment. I guess it's probably, and I don't want it to hijack your wonderful achievement. Wow.
So, I really get the greatness of who you are, Monwara, and
Oh, don't get me going again, Lorlett.
no,
I'm not
no,
great
no.
with.
I'm just saying, I want you to just acknowledge that it's a great thing to get that emotional about who you are and accept it because it's who you are. It's that bigness, isn't it? It's that boldness. It's understanding that. I remember when I won British Female Inventor for innovative capacity building. Is that off camera again?
I'm being so unprofessional.
No, it isn't. You are who you are. People who are listening, I really want you to get what it takes to be a leader. It's not an easy one. Even when you're accomplishing, even when you think you're at the peak, there's always that thing there to deal with. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. And it takes something. And, Manwara has demonstrated that yes, it's overwhelming to be at the top of that mountain, reach the peak of that mountain. It took something. And, she's overwhelmed by it. It takes something. I remember when I won the awards for creating the cards. And when I won those awards and people are writing about me and having those conversations, I keep on asking myself, are they really talking about me, really? Is it really me? I remember winning the awards, and imposter syndrome kicks in. And it was about the next morning, I thought to myself, wow, any minute now I'm going to have a phone call to say they've given the awards to the wrong person. So even though we're accomplishing and doing things, still it's question, who am I to be doing this? And I think it's a great thing because, you can become complacent and think, well, yeah, I'm doing this. So if anyone there listening and you've gone through this whole experience of questioning yourself, am I doing right? Am I doing, please drop it in the chat. It would be good to hear if anyone have gone through those experiences. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And Monwara is not the only one. She's talking about her experience of having a bold idea, make it become a reality, enroll other people into the idea and make it happen. And now she's going through that process of, oh my goodness, who am I? And it's all right. It's okay to feel that way. Why not? Why not? Being able to recognize it's not an easy feat being a leader. It's not easy making things happen. And when it does happen, we do question ourselves to say, did I really make that happen? And so, Monwara, come out from the camera.
Oh no, everyone's gonna see me.
Come
Should I
on.
should I
Come and
cancel this?
stand in your
I want
greatness.
to cancel
You
this,
know,
Lorlett.
stand in your greatness. I'm not allowing you to hide behind that camera. It's really understanding. Take it. You create it. You make it happen. And as you said, it could be your conditioning, being a woman, whatever it is, you are making things happen. Just accept it. It's a hard one. It's a hard one.
I
And the
I think
question
the
is, you
battle.
know,
Go on.
why not? Why not? Why not you? In that sense. Yeah.
And if I really tell you what I'm thinking, it won't be received well by everybody, like people, the audience necessarily,
But
because
you're not for
in my
everyone.
in
But
my
you're not
head,
for everyone, Manwara. You're not for everyone, but there's somebody listening today that your message will make a difference. Because I've been there. I know what it's like in the sense of, well, I think I know what it's like. Achieve something extraordinary and questioning myself, you know, do I deserve this? Do I really deserve this? Is it really me? As I said, I remember receiving British Female Inventor for Innovative Capacity Building, and I was like, that's huge. That's too big for me. That's not me at all. The next morning, I wake up and I look at the awards and the mantelpiece, and I was like, any minute now, they're going to call me and tell me that they're giving it to the wrong person. I walk around for a whole week thinking, oh my God, I don't deserve this awards. And then somebody just kicked in and said, shut up. you know, behave yourself. Shut up. Behave yourself and just acknowledge it. So it's important to have people around you that
Yalla.
really are with you, to actually say, yeah, it's fine. And, you yourself as a person as well, being able to say, you know what, it's fine. Because, I think we live in a society where people love to tell you that you're not capable, you're not it.
Um, yeah, I said earlier, like some people may not believe or
Forget
may.
about them.
Okay.
Forget
Um,
about them. There is somebody out
so
there, there's a young person out there Is a young person today embarking on what you are doing right now? Because nothing new is ever invented. It's always there. It's a different spin to it. And
The,
so
tr-
there's somebody out there embarking on what you're doing, and they want to hear. That's why
well,
you're here.
the
You
truth
know,
is, if you are that person, the truth is, sometimes you're going to feel like you are the only person who could do this, right? You might be in a room and you might find that nobody else in the room really wants to do it or really understand what needs to be done, and actually you are the person. I've been in many rooms where I've not been recognized ever as the person, and I have felt I'm the person who could move things forward, but I have not put myself forward so many times. So, what I will say is, more recently, I have been that person that has put myself forward, and I have had a very interesting week already with varied experiences around it. I find the biggest battle in life, especially around leadership, is being your authentic self or trying to constantly figure out who you are and to constantly be yourself when everybody else is telling you to be something else. Being human is really hard when everybody else is telling you you can't be like this. Somebody, I sat in an interview earlier this week where somebody said such and such was very quiet and she wasn't energetic enough. So she wasn't good enough for the leadership role. And I thought to myself, I could see why she was being that way. She was being that way because she wanted other people to take the space because she was facilitating. She was not, supposed to be leading in the same way. Facilitation is leading from the back. But what you do is you create a safe space where everybody feels like they can have a say. So it's very interesting that when you go quiet, people judge you as not being energetic enough, not having confidence, not being assertive enough. If you become assertive, they see you as too opinionated, maybe in some ways overpowering, far too influential. I've had all those words to describe me and judge me, sometimes in front of me and sometimes when I'm not there. So the hardest for that reason, it's very hard to step up and say, yes, I will lead. And knowing all of that, I still say I step up and I will lead because I have been in a lot of spaces where I felt like, okay, I think I know what needs to be done here. I don't need to be at the front, but I see nine other people and I can see, I play chess, right? Like a game of chess. I can see who needs to be in what position. And that's like, and I'm learning all the time. The journey taught me, for example, that some people are ready to transition from self leadership to leading a team, and some people aren't yet. And you know what? If you are one of those people, you're never going to be ready until you just do it. Because confidence doesn't come from already being great at something. Confidence comes from doing something and learning what you did. If you never try something, how will you ever gain confidence in it? So, I mean, that's my takeaway for any young woman listening. I say woman, boys and men as well, but I say woman because I'm an advocate of female leadership. Because I feel that women are naturally built to lead. Whether you do it from the back or you do it from the front, you are naturally designed to lead. But many of us feel that we aren't because we don't see service, and maybe it's just my style of leadership. I think if I'm not serving someone, I'm not leading.
Contribution. Be a contribution. I mean, some people would say, who am I? I don't have anything, and that lack and scarcity always come in sometimes because depending on the environment you grow up in, it's really looking at I don't have enough. So if I don't have enough for myself, how can I give it to somebody else? How can I offer that in that sense? And so that's why you get some people just hoard and hoard and hoard things in the sense of not recognizing the more I give is the more I get back. The more I share is the more I get. The more I build community is the more I become more successful. The more I give away. I mean, I can give you so many experiences of, you know, meeting people on a train or in the airport or something and having a conversation with them. And I gave them a box of my cards without thinking anything of it. It's just my way of saying, great meeting you. Here is my card. Here's a product, in that sense. And years later, a young lady, she now set up a business in Jamaica, and she didn't know I was in Jamaica. So she reached out to me, and she said, I was on the train with you coming from a business meeting 10 years ago, and something that you shared with me inspired me to pack up. And with my two children, I made my way to Jamaica, and now she's got a property business and she's doing really well. And also giving me a box of cards as well. And I was like, I never remembered her at all. I never remember doing that. And then when she came to visit me at the house, I was like, still didn't recognize her, but she remembered me. And sometimes, when we share, when we give, when we build community, we don't know the impact we have on people. How many times, Monwara, you met somebody that might say to you, Monwara, remember when you said this? And you think, really? I don't remember saying this at all. But you saying that has enabled me to go on and do this. And because of you, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So you never know. Something you say to somebody, something you've done, something that you offer, whether it's an article or whatever it is, you don't know. Leadership for me is about influence. John Maxwell says it. I mean, it's not me that say it. It's influence. It's how you influence other people just by your presence, just by being there. Something would never happen without you being there. Those ladies would never have had the opportunity to climb that mountain if it wasn't for you. That impact. It has an impact on me. From the first time I saw your mount climbing at Ben Nevis, I was like, who does that? Who does something like that? When I see leaders like Fawn Weaver and, how she took Uncle Nearest vision and turned it into a multi-million pound whiskey industry for since 2017. That's been phenomenal. A person with a bold vision and made that happen. It's just it would never happen without her. Climbing those mountains would never happen without you. Creating things Mama used to say would never have happened without me. So it's about understanding the part that we play and how we show up in the things that happen around us. I mean, when you think of the civil rights movement and Rosa Parks, determined that things has to change regardless of what it is. And it took something. When you think of people like Martin Luther King, you look at Mother Teresa, man from Nelson Mandela, those individuals who decided to themselves, enough is enough, regardless. It took something, and it's understanding that it's not going to be an easy fix. It's not going to be easy. But when you think how many people rallied around, Nelson Mandela, he didn't get himself out of prison by himself. People campaigned for years for him to come out. And he's recognizing that when you take a stand and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, other people say, yeah, 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 I'm right behind you, I'm coming, and understanding what that is about. And it's overwhelming because it's like, come back down to what I said. Who am I? Who am I to be doing this But then there's people around you who reaffirm that you are the one. It was given to you. It wasn't anybody else's gift. It was yours to really make that happen. Yep. Over back to you, Manwara.
And I would describe you with one word: trailblazer.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely keep the door down.
I mean, listen, trailblazing is like, look what we're doing. We're doing
Yeah.
this together. And actually, it's not about you or I necessarily getting anywhere before each other. We do our own thing, we support each other. And I think that's the important thing. If you want to lead and you are afraid, when you know that you have someone beside you, it makes the journey a little bit more comfortable. And that's why, like, I am on another leadership group and I have a co-chair, because it helps. It makes it easier because it's a space where you have to be brave, and being brave on your own is a lot more painful because you have to hide those tears, you have to hide those emotions. And I certainly don't believe in leadership of the type that maybe sometimes some people have portrayed, like, for example, the monarchy, for example, where you can be serving humanity, but you don't have to do it on your own. This is why I believe in trailblazing, because I think it means that we're not competing. I was more than happy to get up that mountain, even if I was the last, so long as everybody gets up that mountain, because success was to get to the top. Not only that, when you talk about Ben Nevis, I only got halfway through, but that was my lesson learned. On a personal level, I knew I was going to struggle. And on a group level, everybody who climbed that mountain and the amount of people who donated, whether it was £5 or somebody donated £50, every single penny of their good intention meant that there's a woman in Bangladesh now who has a roof over her head with her two teenage daughters living in dignity, because we not only climbed Ben Nevis, but we also fundraised. And that success has fueled my belief that we can do this again and again and again. And then I have a mini me, Rifa, my younger sister, who is very much leading on the organizing of this challenge, the one in Austria. And it wasn't easy for her because she's young, and most of the group are kind of my age, if a little bit younger maybe than me. And you've got a 20 something year old who's constantly being told, "Do you know where you're going?" And the reality is, and I'm not naming names, but whether you're 50, whether you are 40, or you are 30 something in that group, and then you have Rifa who's 20 something, none of us actually knew where we were going. And that is life. We're not going to know where we're going. And that's fine. Just because you're older and you have more experience doesn't mean if you go to Austria for the first time in your life and you've never navigated a map that you are going to be better placed to learn how to do it than a 20 something year old. Personally, I just put my hand up and say, you know what? The younger they are, the more in tune they will be with technology. Let her,
Yeah.
let her lead. And she did a fantastic job. And I think the hardest thing for her would have been to battle the judgments around her. Because I do think,
And sometimes, sorry, and sometimes you can be intimidated by people who you think have had more experience than you. And the great thing, Manwara, is understanding who's in your team. Who's in your team? As they always say, it's not about the person. It's not about the role. It's about understanding the person who is good for that role. Every situation has a role, well, who is that person is going to make that role effective? That's the key. What happened in situation is sometimes we put people in roles, but they're not the people who are supposed to be in those roles, and they're not effective in that sense because it's not really their strengths. That's why I always ask people when I'm interviewing people for my garden. I always ask them, which part of gardening do you like? Which aspects of gardening do you like? I love to clean out all the tot, all the old rubble and everything else. It just give me great joy to see at 1 minute there was a whole heap of rubble there, and then it's really nice and flat. Call me crazy, whatever. But the reality of that for me, when some people look at it and think, oh, I'm not touching that. There's too much work in that aspect, and that's about, yeah. So yeah, it's really understanding who's in your team, and I think you're very good at that, Monwara.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that compliment. And I would say with Reefer, like, yes, you're right, and you've picked up such an important aspect of intimidation, and where I have seen lots of initiatives that have been set up to empower younger people into leadership, and where you have older people as mentors. And I think I've noticed a problem with it. And that problem is those leaders not realizing or acknowledging that the young people may find them intimidating because of their experience. Because we should always lead on the basis of whatever the situation is, situational, right? So if you can feel that in a situation your experience is going to intimidate, you can go one of two ways. Either you make it very clear with the younger person, and tell them, encourage them to tell you when you are stepping on their toes or you're about to. Or the other way is to just completely take yourself out of that situation. Because for as long as that individual who is much more highly experienced is there, that other inexperienced person may not pluck up the courage to lead, because they'll always think, okay, can I do it as well as this person? There's going to be that constant measuring. And I think it's a psychological thing, because I have found myself in situations where I've completely taken out and it's worked better. Because you may think, okay, I can navigate my way around this, I'll be very communicative, but you really don't know what impacts people's thoughts and their emotions. Because there's two things, right? Thoughts that affect us and emotions that affect us, and both get in the way sometimes.
Can I give you an example, Monora? I know,
Yes,
I know,
please.
it's nothing to do with leadership up to a point, but I have a friend. I've known her for years, and one day we were going out, and I said to her, "Oh, can you just iron a shirt for me, quickly, because I was doing something else." And she was there fiddling around, and she just wouldn't do it, And I'm thinking, why are you taking so long? I've gone off and done what I need to do and come back, and you still have not ironed the shirt. And then she said to me, "If you think I'm going to iron your shirt, you got another thing coming." And I said to her, "Well, why not?" She said, "Well, I can't iron as well as you. When you iron, there's no crease. So I'm not going to take it on in any shape or you know. So it just goes to show. So I had to say to her, listen, you just iron your shirt, and get over it. Because if you don't get over it, you're gonna forever having this thing measuring up that you're not good enough in terms of where I'm concerned. But she ironed the shirt and I just put it on and I went on about my business, and that was it. So sometimes as a leader, you've got to be able to pick up on people dynamics as well. Because when I got back, I thought, what, how come she has not in this shirt yet? What's she playing at? And then I said to her, oh, you promised me you're going to hire in this shirt and you haven't. And then she said, if you think I'm going to hire in this shirt, you got another thing coming. I mean, there's a lesson in everything about people around us if we look, and we really are aware of how people operate around us. Some people will go all the way and some people will hold back because it's like, can I really measure up?
Yeah, and it is absolutely about leadership because I think what leaders like us need to be very good at communicating now is when we are highly experienced and we know we're in a room where others are judging like us like that, or a mentee or someone that you're coaching, it's important to tell them don't measure up against 30 years experience because it's unfair to you. You're setting yourself up to fail if you're going to measure yourself for 30 years experience when you haven't had that yet. You're at the beginning of your journey. I say this a lot with family members of mine, with younger people. When we have conversations, deep level conversations, I sometimes say, let's have this conversation in 10 years' time. And I don't mean to be rude, but I feel like there are some things that where we're inappropriately measuring and judging when in some ways we're setting our own selves up to fail. You know, I'm in new places at the moment where it's all new to me, and I know the people around me also are feeling the same. And it's okay. It's actually more comfortable when everyone else is feeling the same because then we're in it together. There's a joy in doing things together. And I think that's the difference between self leadership and leading others. There is a real joy. We know as self leaders, anybody who's a client of mine or anybody who might become a potential client of mine is usually people who know how to lead themselves, but they now need to grow to the next level. And that's when you need to elevate and keep on reminding yourself you know what you are doing. And even if you get it wrong, it's fine. That's part of the learning, the journey. The growth and the learning is, as far as I'm concerned, the best leaders are those who are continually on that journey. Because if you're not on that journey, then you have a mindset of, you know it all already. You have all the answers. And sadly, sometimes when you are highly experienced, you can give that impression that you're highly knowledgeable because you hold so much information in your head. And in that situation, you also need to be using the dynamics. And sometimes you may hold the information, but you need to hold it and not share it. And that's a hot tip for anyone listening. Because if you hold some knowledge and you are the only person in that room that everyone feels holds the knowledge, others you may find it very hard to encourage and empower others to also step up and lead.
I call it the scarcity and lack. There's not enough, so you hold on to it.
Mm,
And it's about that trust as well. Is understanding that, do I trust myself or do I trust other people? And just before we wrap up, that thing about bold ideas, it's sharing as you go along. It's having conversation with people as you go along, because people remember that journey. I met people now, my things mama used to say, they're 20 years old this year. And I remember people I meet would say, I remember when you tell us you were going to do it. I remember when you had the conversation. So it's about sharing, because you never know. It's that story that keeps it going, and it's that story that make it remarkable. And the more you share with people, it's the more they remember, because story sells. Always remember, it's the story that you tell people that makes a difference.
mm, mm. Yeah, good way to end today. And what do you have? Well, before we go on to what do we have, I can share with you that Sharon Gordon, one of my connections on LinkedIn, who I now call a good friend, and we have a very strong mentoring relationship. And Sharon is someone who is on the founding journey of Ma Institute, Learning Institute, and she has created an amazing video, very informative video, which I will be sharing very soon. We're going to be doing lots of other things to fundraise to meet that £10,000 target. And if anybody wants to come on the journey as a fundraiser, someone has a bold idea and they want to do it because they want to fund a classroom or something, just reach out to me, please, by all means, via LinkedIn, direct message me, or my YouTube channel. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to Lorlett, as we do traditionally end with what you're looking forward to. So I'm looking forward to sharing more of that story, and lots of bid writing next week. So over to you, Lorlett. What are you looking forward to next week?
Well, if anybody's listening and you really want to come to Jamaica in October to my retreat, it's business and leisure. Because I have this idea that for me, when I traveled, I like to do some aspects of business, find out around what courses, what conferences, any country I'm going to now, I go to Eventbrite and find out if there's a seminar because it gives me opportunity to meet other leaders and find out what's what and also have some leisure around that. So if any of you listening, my retreat is happening in October. Please reach out to me, and that's what I'm looking forward to more people coming. I ran it last year and I ran it 2022, my first one, and it's been phenomenal. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's really making it happening. I'm also going to the diaspora conference. I think it's happening in this month. Funny enough, I mean, it's 1st of June. Can you imagine? My goodness, it's the 1st of June. So I'm looking forward to that as well and continue working in my garden. So that's what I'm up to.
Fantastic. So you're going to be going to the diaspora event in June, right?
Right.
You're probably going to meet a lot of our connections from London as well.
Yeah, quite a few people, about 3 or 4 people actually reach out this with me. They're going to be in Jamaica. So it'd be good for me to actually meet up with them. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's very interesting how we look so far ahead next week and this month, and actually today is June. I
I
have
know.
and I have to say this, something very special about 1st of June.
What is
My,
it?
my daughter, my youngest, was born on the 1st of June, 2004. She's 20 today.
Wow.
She was born at 12:46. So there's about
This
42
time.
minutes. Yeah, 42 minutes time she'll be 20 years old.
Oh my goodness. What,
And
what we got in store for her today?
well, she's in Brighton. She's got her test and exams coming up. Her last test is on the 7th of June. So I'm going to see her tomorrow. I have a cake, and Mama is going to be cooking lamb biryani tonight and roast chicken. And I'm going to be taking it over for her tomorrow because, like, that's the other side of leadership. I think that's the biggest lesson learned in leadership is parenting.
Nice one. Nice one. Good. So, folks who are listening, it's a pleasure spending time with you. And I hope you got some nuggets that you can take on to your leadership journey. It's been a pleasure being here with you. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Did you say happy birthday to Mehek?
Happy birthday to Monwara, lovely daughter. I hope I hope you live to see many more. And yeah, having a mother like a trailblazer, what does that say about you? What can I say?
She baby trailblazer one day, right? She's going to be the baby one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But sometimes they say you don't necessarily follow your parents, do you? In that sense, some children do, some children don't, and that's all right as well, isn't it?
Of course, absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever she does, she's going to be blazing trails for herself, and she's going to touch lives. I see that already happening. She's 20 years old, and I see the influence and impact, positive impact she has on her friends. And even in school, when she was younger, when she sings on stage and she performs, she touches people deeply. She may not
Wow,
have the confidence yet, but if you ever heard her sing, you would know what I mean. But maybe one day I'll,
amazing,
yeah.
amazing. When you use your gift to touch people, it's just, I mean, some people it's cooking, some people it's singing, some people it's poetry. You'd be surprised just by being you, the difference you make.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, anybody who's listening or who will be watching the replay. Hope you enjoyed our conversation. Please feel free to share any comments, any feedback, any questions for next Saturday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Lorlett?
Yeah. Have a good one, everyone, and look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. All right, then. Bye bye.